I'm Dr. Ben Newman. I'm a coronavirus biologist, and I'm going to try to answer your questions. Let's see. Next question is from Angela. Good morning, Angela. Let's see. I have a number of questions I'd like you to answer, if possible, with your expertise. Expertise. Oh my gosh, not in talking. That's where, yeah, that's for sure. All right. Yeah, let's try. So, can you explain why it's so important that you have to be 2 meters for 15 minutes, within 2 meters for 15 minutes before you are at risk? Yeah, those are real soft guidelines to try to give people something that they can visualize. People treat them as though they are a concrete, Teflon coated concrete barrier that's going to protect you from everything. And it's not. It's just air and space. And the virus, yeah, can definitely cross that space and has definitely crossed spaces larger than that before. It's trying to come up with something reasonable and workable, but it is not foolproof at all. So, yeah, don't treat those as gospel the way I've seen some governments, do. Yeah, just treat it as kind of a guideline that you should always be exceeding. Yeah, think of that as like the minimum daily requirement, and you generally don't want to be. You don't want to be at the minimum. That's for most things. Yeah. All right. Could you be at more than 2 meters away for an hour and or more, but not be at risk? Yeah, no, definitely not. Especially if you're in a closed space. Those respiratory droplets that come out of a person's mouth will hang in the air. They can hang there for over an hour. They can spread out and fill up a room. Um, yeah, uh, there's a famous restaurant case, and a couple of studies on the cruise ships that show that shared indoor space, even if there's some amount of time between, or some amount of time or distance there, you can get transmission across a shared indoor space. So, yeah. Let's see. Or indeed, is less than 2 meters for 13 minutes. Yeah, right. Yeah, right. You're trying to math this out, and no, obviously, all this stuff is kind of silly when you talk about it that way, which it always was silly. So yeah, fair play. Let's see. And are people infectious 48 hours before they get symptoms? This is a general guideline. You will have people that are infectious before that. Most everybody seems to be infectious um, 48 hours before symptoms. Um, and the only way we can really tell is by how much virus, whether there is virus in their mouth or nose. Because if it's there, it will come out, and if it comes out, it can definitely infect. And so, if you have somebody who has a positive test, if somebody who could test positive can spread the virus, that's basically it. And there are a lot of people that would say, well, the risk is lower even though they have it in their nose, and just don't mess with that. They're trying to cut corners. They're trying to whittle a little bit off of the restrictions, and just don't do that, because we keep doing that thing and we keep falling into the same trap, which is where we relax some restrictions and then the virus comes back. We're on our third giant peak right now in the U.S. and there are more in some places or fewer. Yeah, just it goes up and goes down. And honestly, that's a mess. And the sooner we actually get rid of this virus and do things right, the better, because it just gets harder and harder each day that we mess up like we are. All right. Let's see. What about infectiousness? If they're not symptomatic, yes, definitely there are proven cases where asymptomatics have spread it. In some tests, they don't spread it to quite as many people, but the fact that an asymptomatic person is probably not going to be taking the same precautions as a symptomatic person tells you all you need to know, that yes, they are spreading, and it's going to be partly through behavior, in addition to just regular having the virus there. So what you've got to do right now is assume that everybody always has the virus and act accordingly to protect yourself and protect the people around you. Yeah, so you got to assume that, and that includes you. You got to assume that you may have the virus and be asymptomatic. And so, yeah, you got to not be around anybody outside your immediate household who are going to be breathing all your fumes in anyway. Um, yeah, without a mask ever for any reason, yeah, restaurants are delicious, but a real bad idea right now. Okay. Also, is it safe to be in large meetings when socially distanced for 15 minutes? If you're wearing a mask, the social distancing, I don't know, yeah, we draw out with tape measures and be like, okay, this is the zone, this is your 6 feet diameter circle, enjoy it, yeah. And that's not the way to think about this. Yeah, have a mask on. The spacing out limits the number of people that can be in a space, which is going to limit the risk to some extent. So I would say, yeah, you probably can do that, but anytime that you can avoid being in a place with people, distanced or not, masked or not, you want to make sure that you avoid that. So yeah, Zoom, much as I dislike it, yeah, has a purpose. So does Hangouts, so does Teams, so does all the other things, all the other things. Let's see. Okay, and thank you in advance. And I partly want to know, as I am at risk in my job from catching the virus, yes. But want to know if I can visit my sick mother. Well, it sounds like you've got to. And so what you can do is get a test. Get a test, like on a Friday, if you can. If they'll do the rapid antigen, that would give you at least some idea that you're going to be okay. And they can get you the results usually in 15 minutes. And then visit over the weekend without going anywhere else or doing any other weird stuff. And then, fine, you're back to work on Monday. And so, like some of the places near us will do the rapid test and do the more sensitive PCR test at the same time. And so you'll get the results back at different times, but at least you will have one negative test going in there. And then just wear a mask. Yeah, yeah. And if you got to have a cup of tea together, you're gonna go outside and sit, far apart on the porch or in the park or whatever, and have your cup of tea. Or if she's in like a retirement home or something like that, then I would say don't have the cup of tea. She can have the cup of tea. You keep your mask on, and yeah, the important thing is we want to keep other people safe and we want to keep ourselves safe. But whichever one motivates you, we need to keep both people safe. And so we'll take the motivation on either end. But yeah, everybody in a mask for now uh, until we can get this thing under control. Yeah. So yeah, thanks very much. That was not just a good question, but a whole bunch of good questions all in a row. And yeah, I hope everything goes well and wish you all the best. Thanks very much. This has been Ask Dr. Ben.